Hello, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the work done from lesson four, the previous lesson, the economics of education. So nice work overall regarding your discussions. And again, I apologize. I was traveling when the glitch came up from the discussion links. I apologize for that, and I'm grateful for those of you who did workarounds and those of you who, most of you were patient until it was fixed. Just wanted to touch on a couple things in terms of looking at finances and school funding. I hope you provided the information needed for the equity in education from Darling Hammond, the poverty reading. Overall, your discussions look really, really good. Just a note, you don't need to include the title of Darling Hammond's text when you're citing. You just need to use the author and the date. So you don't need to include titles and so forth. Just an FYI. The assignment summation looks good. Again, this was just a real quick snapshot into your topic, get a little jump start into your resources, and then looking at whether or not you're working with somebody or not. So I just wanted to make sure that you were given an opportunity to really kind of look at that assignment a little bit in depth. So I appreciate your work on that. I just want to go ahead now and move into lesson 5, which is where we are now. Open last night. A little bit of a tale of three states, if you will, is what Darling Hammond refers to it as. So it's interesting to look at sort of the work that North Carolina and Connecticut in particular have done, which is what you're going to find in this particular lesson. And although what I appreciate about the resources and the feedback that I've gotten is that it shows a progression of what worked and what didn't work. So you'll note the dates on these reform efforts, but also make a note to kind of what's happening sort of now, if you will. I didn't group you for this discussion, so the discussion for this week is on school reform and looking at sort of playing the role of governor. What would you prioritize? Partly what I talked about at the beginning of the semester was really thinking about this class as a sort of bird's eye view, if you will. This is really the opportunity for you to look at education from a big picture standpoint. Policy, how does policy impact practice? Everything you do on a day-to-day basis is impacted as a result of or impacted to some degree by policy. Many of you commented previously on legislators really not understanding education or the system at all, and so that was really spot on. But this particular discussion asks you to really think about reform and what would be the main focus of your attention if you were to be in charge of that. And then lastly, I want you to spend some time. I'm going to go ahead and open up the trend rubric right now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the description and the purpose in this narration, but what I want you to pay very close attention to is the criteria. If your presentation follows this layout, significance, impact, challenges, recommendations, and audience description, you will have no trouble doing well on this assignment. Try to introduce your audience. Actually, audience should be at the very top because it would be good in your introduction to describe who your audience is. But it's important to describe your audience because that's how you want to cater your presentation. And be specific when you're talking about the significance of the issue or trend. Its impact that it has on teaching and learning. What are some challenges that are presented in your topic? And then what are some recommendations that you would make to your audience regarding your issue or trend? Some of you, I gave you feedback on your summation assignment about being too broad or having too large of a topic. Make sure you're able to complete the assignment as it's laid out here in the criteria on a topic. So for example, school funding is that's a big topic. I would highly recommend you look at something maybe school funding and the tax base, for example. So I think that many of you, most of you, if not all of you, from what I've seen thus far, have really been able to drill down onto a topic. And what I also appreciated of the summations I've read thus far, everybody seems to be picking something they're very passionate about and very interested in, and that has a real impact in your either practice or your experience as an education consumer. So I really appreciate that. So good work on that. And with that, I'm going to just close out this particular screen because and go back to our lesson. So again, looking back at lesson 4, really talked about the ideas of economics and education, school funding, how schools are funded, and now we're really drilling into Darling Hammond outlines 3 states, and then the lesson sort of exemplifies 2 of those states, looking at Connecticut and North Carolina. So with that, I'm going to close here. I look forward to your work. I see so much improvement in your discussion postings, in terms of really thinking about being specific with your examples and supporting those ideas with evidence. Because remember that you want to continue to do that as you work through not just this course, but in the program. When you get to your research courses, it's going to be really important that you have a strong understanding and an experience using outside credible research to support your ideas. So with that, I want to thank you for your work and have a great week. And we will keep tweeting.